seems like there's actual springs in there. So that's now reacting how I was expecting it to react, in that almost kind of direct into a desk kind of way, which is actually what I was hoping for. For some reason at the moment I seem to be just really into that sound. Yeah, so that's horrible. Just realised something very, very, very stupid. So earlier I was saying, oh, I don't think it's really designed to be very loud. It's got a master volume. And that master volume is currently set to 3 out of 10. Okay, this is not what I was expecting at all. Strange one today. I've been gifted by a very good friend of mine a keyboard amplifier, and my question today in today's video is this the missing piece of my guitar amp rig that I've been looking for? Now, this is a 3-channel amplifier, and I've tried to do a little bit of research online and can't find very much out about it. From the front panel, it looks like it's possibly a 90-watt amplifier. It's certainly big enough to be. The speaker is massive. It looks like about a 15-inch speaker, and it got me thinking, with the onboard effects that are on there, which is a reverb, and from online it looks like it's a spring reverb, but I don't know if it's an actual spring. We'll see if we can find out, or if we can indeed hear it. It got me thinking about kind of some of my favourite guitarists, like Stevie Ray Vaughan. And I know that in their past they have used amplifiers with 15-inch speakers. Now, these have always been huge valve amplifiers, not a solid state, which I'm assuming this is, being a keyboard amplifier. But I'm wondering if I paired it with another amplifier of mine and did a wet-dry rig with it, would it be able to recreate some of those epic tones? So really today is a massive exploration of this amplifier and really asking the question, if we're going to such great lengths to find these amazing valve amplifiers, are we actually missing out on some of the quirky, interesting amplifiers that haven't been designed for guitar? And I know full well that a lot of the great artists from the 60s and 70s, they had a lot of success of plugging into things that weren't actually designed originally for the guitar. So I'm really excited to have a listen to this. I haven't had a listen yet at all. So I'm going to plug in and see what it sounds like. And hopefully on the other end of this, you'll be able to get a really good sense of what this is like. So as I say, it's been gifted to me. It's been in my friend's garage for a few years, and you can tell really, it's got garage fluff all over it, which just adds to the charm. Obviously I need to give this a good clean up. But what struck me first of all, when I was first looking at this, was that each of these channels has got a reverb and an effects that you can turn on and off with these little switches at the front. There also seems to be an attack knob over on the other side here, and so I'm wondering if there's maybe a built-in compressor. And the back panel seems to have a few features on there as well. There's an effects loop, which is amazing. So thinking about using timed effects, I could pop that in the effects loop. So I really want to have a really good explore of this. Okay, so moment of truth. I've just put the kettle lead in the back. Let's turn it on and see if it works. Alright, so there was that familiar pop of the solid state amplifier, so I'm pretty sure it is solid state rather than valve. I can't imagine you would put valves in a keyboard amplifier. You want it to be pretty flat response, solid state. So I'm going to pop in my guitar and just see how it sounds direct in. Okay, so each channel actually has two inputs into it. I think they are probably both just the same rather than like a high input and a low input. But that's bonkers in itself. You can put so many different instruments into this amplifier. It's obviously designed to take quite a lot of signal, and so I'm expecting it to have a lot of high headroom. And I've got it on about 1/3 on the master, and that is by no means particularly loud. It's bedroom volume. And I've got the bass and the treble just set at noon, and this is what this sounds like. So I'm on the neck pickup on the Telecaster. I'm going to bring the treble right up and see what that does. So as I imagined, it has a lot of bottom end. That top end is really not particularly there. It's quite a muddy sound to it. Let's take the bass right down and see how that sounds. Now that's quite a kind of sterile sound. Definitely some of that bass in there to give it a bit of life. Let's pop on the reverb and see how that sounds. I've got it set quite low over here at the moment. So that's the most amount of reverb there. Online I saw one or two posts about this range of amplifiers, not this actual one, and it did say that it had a spring reverb, which I just didn't believe. I just thought, well, it'll be a digital copy of a spring reverb, but hitting the top of it, it seems like there's actual springs in there. So that in itself is amazing. It's great for me because I actually don't have any amplifiers that actually have a real spring tank. So straight away I'm thinking, well, I could probably use this in a wet dry rig and use my valve amplifier as kind of my main tone, and this running my wet effects, and that might work quite well. So I'll try that in a little bit. Let's keep exploring the different effects and things that we've got in here. So reverb off. Let's see what this other one does, this attack. Right, so pressing the effects button, I'm assuming that's actually the effects loop, rather than turning on any effects. So actually the attack may well be for the reverb. Bring that attack right down again. I'm not really sure what that is doing, but what I'm hearing is it's got more top end when the attack is up. So it doesn't feel like a compressor. Originally I thought it might be something to do with the compressor, but actually it feels like it's related to the reverb. So I don't know, but that extra attack is maybe bringing in some more top end, but suddenly it sounds more like a guitar amp than it did before. Sounds really nice, like a lot nicer than I was expecting it to, which is amazing. Let's take the input up just a little bit and see what the volume's like. Okay, so that was on about 3/4 there, and it's loud, but it's not kind of loud enough like gig level or anything like that. But it's definitely gone beyond kind of bedroom level, which is interesting. I think, like I said before, because this has got so many inputs, it seems like it's designed to take a lot of signal from a lot of different instruments, and keep that headroom rather than kind of get really, really loud. But what is really interesting there is that I'm getting a really nice glassy guitar tone now, all of a sudden, which I really wasn't expecting. Let's try bringing that input down and adding in some effects from the pedal board. So let's pop in a little bit of dirt from the Blues Breaker first of all, see how that sounds. I'm just going to take the input down again and the reverb down a little bit, because that's pushing that reverb and it is getting a bit washy. Bring the reverb down even more. So that's now reacting how I was expecting it to react, in that almost kind of direct into a desk kind of way, which is actually what I was hoping for. For some reason at the moment I seem to be just really into that sound. So that's fantastic. I'm just going to quickly check channel 2 and channel 3 and see if it's the same or whether there's maybe a difference in the EQ. So I'll keep the same settings with the Blues Breaker on. Now those other two channels don't really seem kind of quite as alive to me. I don't know if that's just a volume thing. I was trying to keep it at the same point, but maybe the volume pots might have a slightly different taper or something, or maybe there is a difference in the EQ. I tried to turn it to the same EQ for each one as well, but there was definitely a difference there, and so I'm preferring straight into channel 1. Let's try that now with the broadcast, which is designed to emulate that straight into a desk kind of sound. So let's pop that in front of this and see what that sounds like. Yeah, so that's horrible. Yeah, can't use that at all. I think that's kind of like going into a desk and going into a desk kind of tone. Too much of it, it's just got very, very brittle and nasty. So definitely can't use that. Okay, so I'm going to try this now as a wet-dry rig. So having this as my wet amplifier with all that lush reverb on, and then my other amplifier set up dry. Now I'm going into two valve preamps, Kingsley Page and Kingsley Maiden, and then going into the power amp of my Marshall Origin 20 for my valve tone. So let's see what they sound like together. Just realised something very, very, very stupid. So earlier I was saying, oh, I don't think it's really designed to be very loud. It's got a master volume. And that master volume is currently set to 3 out of 10. So I think it's definitely capable of a lot more. So I've got this set to 3 as well on the channel volume. So let's see what happens if I take it up to halfway. Yeah. Okay, so it is capable, absolutely capable of being gig level, which makes sense. It's huge and it's got a 15-inch speaker, so it does make sense. But yeah, so initial impressions from that wet-dry rig is that this feels like it's very much kind of taken over. So I'm going to turn up the dry amplifier to try and level them out a little bit. Reverb right up on the wet amp. Let's go back to the neck pickup. Okay, this is not what I was expecting at all. So what I was expecting plugging this in was that I was going to get a really flat response, that yes, I'd be able to add reverb, but I may well end up having to put a valve preamp or something like that into this, maybe even going past the front end and going into the effects loop like I do in my Marshall Origin. And I was thinking, well, I could use that as the valve side, and then maybe use another amplifier like my Marshall Origin or the Class 5 or something as the purely valve amp. I was not expecting this on its own to sound so much like a guitar amp. This is a keyboard amp, and I get that it's designed for that massive tonal range from a keyboard, and you want that top end and you want the bottom end, and it's designed to take all of those frequencies. But as a result, I was expecting it to be flat response, so that the keyboard sound just comes straight through. Whereas actually, by taking the treble up and the bass down just ever so slightly, popping on that reverb and the attack, I don't know what that does, but it made it sound glassier. I've suddenly got an amplifier that I could legitimately use as a guitar amplifier, not just as an add-on piece to my rig as it is at the moment, which boggles my mind. This is a free amplifier. I mean, there is no price better than free, and it sounds great. It sounds great. And stick it with another amplifier in that wet-dry scenario, and you've suddenly got this sound that is just room-filling, that is just inspiring, and the tone of this guitar is just coming through beautifully. So, I mean, I feel like I've been missing something for a long time, just being so focused on guitar amplifiers, valve guitar amplifiers at that. Like, I don't even have any amplifiers that aren't pure valve amplifiers. So I feel like I've been missing a trick here. It makes me wonder kind of what other amplifiers are out there that are designed for other things that actually sound amazing with the guitar. Right, I'm going to try with a different guitar just to make sure this isn't a fluke, because, you know, different amplifiers sound better or worse with different guitars. I mean, that sounded a little brittle to me, but it's actually sounding brittle from the valve side right behind me. I'm getting a lot of that brittle top end. I'm going to take the blues breaker out and just have it flat. Okay, that's actually quite hard with this guitar to try and get them to kind of balance, to kind of feel like it's a good sound. It all just feels kind of brittle, and it feels more immediate, this amplifier with this guitar than it did with the Telecaster, which is a bit weird. So I'm just going to go back to just having this guitar. I do feel like in order to get a really nice guitar tone out of it, I do need something in front of it, not just it on its own, which is what this sounds like. But it's interesting. It's really interesting. It's giving me, it's kind of expanding like my mind in terms of wanting to experiment and wanting to kind of see what this can do. I think that's probably the mistake that I'm making right now, is that I'm trying to make this sound like a valve amplifier, and it doesn't. And so really what I need to do is experiment with lots of different pedals and just kind of see how it sounds, see how it reacts, and also look at different combinations in that kind of wet-dry way, or even wet-wet way. That might work quite nicely. But yeah, I mean, it's blowing me away. It really is blowing me away. Okay, let's try one last little experiment with the guitars. So I've switched to the Gibson Les Paul here with the with P90s. So it's got a little bit more output. My thinking here is that actually a lot of those direct into the desk sounds were kind of hotter guitars rather than the likes of a Strat. So actually it takes off some of that top end, gives it a bit more bottom end fuzziness, which I like, and it gets rid of that kind of ice picky, horrible top end. So let's try it and see how the keyboard amp reacts. That difference between the bridge pickup and the neck pickup in terms of bottom end is unreal. This 15-inch speaker's really taking up that bass end. Let's take the blues breaker off and just see what it's like on its own. Yeah, there's that solid state, immediate feeling of the note, nothing around it whatsoever. Let's bring the reverb up, maybe the attack up, whatever that is. So what's really striking me about this amplifier, having played it for half an hour or so, is that there's a huge amount of versatility with this. So depending on what pedal I put in front of it, depending on what guitar I'm playing, and depending on what pickup I'm on, the amplifier kind of responds much more than I was expecting it to. It's not that kind of flat response that I was expecting. There is very much the solid stateness of it in the very, very quick attack that it has. The reverb is far nicer than I thought, and from the sounds of it is a real spring reverb. There's a lot of bottom end, which I was expecting, but all in all it's reacting and responding not how I was expecting it to, but in a better way. So there's definitely some kind of secret sauce that's going on in this keyboard amplifier, and I'm really glad that I've got it, and really grateful that I've been gifted it by my good friend. It comes complete with spiders on it, which is maybe the added missing ingredient that we're missing out of our valve amplifiers and things to make them sound amazing. So you know, put it away in a garage for a few years and get a few spiders, and maybe that'll improve your valve amplifier. But I'm really excited to have this as part of my rig, start experimenting more with wet dry, with different effects, different pedals that maybe I've kind of discarded over the years and don't really use anymore into my valve amps. Maybe they'll work really nicely into this. So you can expect to see this a lot more in upcoming videos as I experiment with what it can do. So thanks ever so much for watching. Thanks for being here for this very, very weird exploration. And please pop in the comments if you've had any experience with different amplifiers that aren't designed for guitars, that actually are fantastic. I'd love to check out some more of these, especially if they're free. But thanks ever so much for watching. Please do like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye everyone. Hi, Ashley here. Remember that I'm giving away a pedal to a lucky winner for every 1,000 subscribers.